Okay, welcome back. So this is our second presentation, and we're just diving into a few more details on the three options that we talked about in the first presentation. And so the first we're going to cover here right now is military service. And I love this quote from former President John F. Kennedy: "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." And I think that really sums up the heart of a lot of people who join the military service. They really want to assist and their country and to fight for freedom, and I think it's such an admirable choice. And so I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about what those options are and how to pursue them. So first you need to kind of think about, do I want to enlist, which would be something directly out of high school, or do I want to become an officer? So there are two different paths within the military, and they stay pretty separate, I would say. There are opportunities for someone who enlists to later become an officer, but that's not very common. And so you do need to think ahead of time, where do I see myself? Am I thinking of a career in the military, or is this something I want to do for a couple years? So kind of think about your long-term goals within the military. If you decide on enlistment, the first step would be to think about what branch of the military you would like to join. And this actually is true if you are thinking about becoming an officer too. So do some research. Look at the work that they do, where they do that work, the level of danger in that work. There's always some risk when you're joining the military, a little elevated risk when you're joining the military. And so you want to know where you're going to be serving and the work that you'll be doing, and make sure it's a good fit for who you are as a person. We will be offering a test in November. It's a standard military test. It's called the ASVAB, and we will be offering that in November. It will be here on campus. It will be offered November 21st, so jot that down. We will be sending out an email on how to register for the test, and that is administered by the military. It's not our test, it's theirs. And what that test gives them is an idea of your overall skills and abilities, and it helps them to place you at a certain level going in, so that the higher you score on the ASVAB, the more advanced your training can be within the military, the higher rank you might be able to achieve over time. And so it just kind of helps them with an initial placement, and so you'll want to be really focused when you take that test. We also want you to meet with a recruiter in person, or you can sign up with the virtual visits that we're doing this year. They're college and military virtual visits. And the way you would sign up for those is in Naviance. Log into Naviance, click on colleges, then college research, and then college visits. So far I know we have the Marine Corps, Army, Navy, and Air Force have signed up. So just look for those opportunities. And if they've already passed, then please just reach out in person via telephone call or something like that to talk with a recruiter. And as we talked about in the last presentation, you want to include your parents in these conversations and your thoughts and your planning for joining the military after high school. You really want to make sure that your parents back you up in this. It's an important decision and they need to be included. Becoming an officer is a little bit different route. You need to graduate from college or university to become an officer, and while you're in college or at university, you need to be participating in an officer training program. So you can attend one of the military academies, like I mentioned. That is a pretty intensive process, I will say. Usually takes about 2 years for a student to be able to get all the different aspects of that application taken care of. It's a pretty intense process. The ROTC program is not quite as intense. Applying to one of those programs, I know, for example, right now, the Marine Corps scholarship for ROTC is open until, I believe it's January, mid to late January. So there's still time to apply and participate in an ROTC program. They will pay for your education as you go through college, so definitely something to consider. You'll come out as an officer, you'll come out with your degree, they will pay for your degree, and that's across the board whether it's ROT or one of the academies. But there will be a service requirement, and that varies a little bit by which branch you're interested in. It can be anywhere from 4 to 8 years commitment of service after you finish your degree. Okay, so just again, talk with your parents about your plans, talk with your guardian. The steps to take are similar for becoming an officer. You'll want to meet with a recruiter in person or via the virtual visits on Naviance. You're going to take the ASVAB if you haven't taken it already here on November 21st at the high school. You're going to talk to your recruiter specifically about ROTC and find out which schools are offering that kind of a program and how does that mesh with your interests. And then just make sure you're still completing the college application process at the schools on your list. So you're kind of doing a double thing here. You're going to be applying for the ROTC scholarship, but you're also going to be doing the college application process. So just make sure you are putting all of the deadlines into a calendar, that you're really staying on it. It's important to kind of stay on the ball with that process. All right, for apprenticeships and certificates, these are, as you can see, someone who maybe is going to be a dental hygienist. We've already talked about some of the careers that are more in the building trades. And I love this quote from Andy Rooney: "Don't rule out working with your hands. It does not preclude using your head." And I think what he's trying to say there is that perhaps over time the college path has become the prestigious path, and that working with your hands in some type of skilled work environment, whether it's in medicine or it's in dentistry or it's out at a construction site, has somehow become considered not as prestigious, and somehow that you are less of a person for having that kind of career. And I really can't tell you how far that is from the truth. In the real world, there are people who have physical skills with their hands. They can work magic, and they are paid for working that magic. Let me tell you, the careers in apprenticeship through apprenticeships and through these certificate programs at the community colleges offer some pretty amazing salaries. And so I really encourage you, if you kind of had it with writing a lot of essays perhaps in your classes, or the academic world, 4 more years of the academic world just is not appealing to you, but you love to work with your hands, you've got skills when you're working with objects, manual dexterity, things like that, or strength, physical strength, that you want to put into your career. You don't want to sit at a desk your whole life. You want to be moving and interacting with people, or being on a job site and creating something with your hands. These careers are a great match for you. So I want you to embrace that if that's who you feel like you are. So as I mentioned, these careers are very high demand and they're paying really well. So especially right now, we have a lot of skilled trades people who are retiring. We have the baby boomers who are in the midst of retiring, and currently in careers such as welding, electrical, plumbing, construction, we are at about 6,000 in the state of California alone shy of our numbers. So there is a huge demand for people that work in those trades and have those skills. If you look at the certificate program, you can see there the programs range from anywhere from 6 months to 4 years, depending on how technical the knowledge is that you're gaining. And some of those careers can start as high as $90,000 a year to start. That's going to be an electrician, that's going to be a welder, that's going to be a dental hygienist. That's great money to start just a few years after high school. The apprenticeship programs are going to be offered through labor unions and merit shops. And they usually range from 18 months to 4 years. It really depends on how detailed and how high level the skills are that you need to acquire. Once you're accepted, you'll receive on-the-job training, and you're paid for the work that you're doing. So rather than paying for college, you are being paid to learn. So you're in a classroom environment for maybe 2 months, and the classroom doesn't look like a regular classroom. It's a classroom set up to train you with the hands-on skills that you need. You get that training for the 2 months, and then you go out onto a job site and you use that training the whole time you're being paid. So you'll learn something new in a classroom environment for maybe a month, and then you're going to go out and you're going to use that new skill for 3 months. Then you go back into the classroom environment, learn the next skill, and so on and so forth. Every time you learn a new skill, your pay goes up. So by the time, say, a electrician is in his or her third year of an apprenticeship program, he or she is making about $75,000 a year. When they finish, they'll be making over $90,000 a year. Great income and great potential for taking care of your family, being able to have a nice life. So those are kind of the two ways that you're going to be able to access these hands-on skill careers. It'll either be through a certificate program at a community college or through an apprentice program where you sort of earn while you learn. Now, the steps to take for either of these programs would be to first think about the work that you would like to do in the skilled trades. You can go on Naviance. There's an assessment called the Career Cluster Survey, and that will really help you. It really asks, like, what kind of work do you imagine yourself doing? The next step would be to look for friends or family or people in the community that you might be able to reach out to and say, hey, would you mind if I shadow you for a day in the work that you're doing? I think that's a great way because you're going to want to see what the environment looks like. Are you working in a medical office? Are you working out in the field? You want to get a feel for what that would look like for you and to see if it's a good fit. The next step would be then to look at community college programs locally that might be able to offer a certificate in that career. And there's a great program that you can go to. It's programfinderoc.com. And you can type in the career that you're interested in, and then they will tell you what community colleges in Orange County offer that program. The next step, if say your program isn't offered at a community college or you like that whole earn while you learn idea that I mentioned, you could go, there's a website listed here. It's the state of California, and they have a database of all the the apprenticeship programs that are offered in the state of California. So you can dial it down by county. You could look at LA and Orange County. If you're moving or you want to go to San Diego, look at San Diego County. All the options are there with the contact information to reach out to those internship programs. So once you've sorted that out, you kind of like, okay, I've checked out this career. It looks really cool. I'm in. I've found where they offer it, and I'm excited about that. The final stage will be to apply to that program, whether it's through a community college or through an apprenticeship, and take those next steps. So hope that helped you with understanding your steps if you're choosing a career in the military or you're thinking about a hands-on skill trade career. This is what we'll do. All right, and then we'll move on now to the more common choice of college, whether it's community college or four-year college. And that's actually going to be a presentation from the admissions rep at New Mexico State. And he's kind of famous, locally famous, has a pretty entertaining presentation, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. Thanks so much for listening.